Inside Elder Lan's room that lingered with the smell of herbs and medicines, Su Ying stood by the entrance with a profound expression. You knew that I would be approaching you today, yet you still decided to come here yourself. What do you want from me so urgently? Elder Lan spoke in a stern voice, almost as if she was trying to remind Su Ying of her status. Su Ying kept his calm expression, and he said, I will get straight to the point, Elder Lan, I want your yin essence. Elder Lan expressed a puzzled expression at first, then realization, and finally bewilderment. You want my what? Elder Lan exclaimed loudly. Unlike yin qi that could be extracted from females even after they lose their chastity, yin essence could only be extracted during the moment the female loses her virginity. I am about to consume the pure yang flower and I need a partner to cultivate with afterward, said Su Ying without hiding anything. Elder Lan's eyes widened with even more shock. You are really planning to consume that? Do you have any idea what kind of medicine the pure yang flower is? There will only be one result if you consume it, a violent death. Elder Lan was more angry at the fact that Su Ying was thinking to consume the pure yang flower than him asking her for her yin essence. I have already said this before, Elder Lan. Look at me, do I look like someone who'd kill myself after spending so much effort into obtaining the pure yang flower? Su Ying slowly approached Elder Lan, his aura radiating an otherworldly feeling. When Elder Lan sensed Su Ying's presence, she felt as though she was standing in front of a profound entity who has the whole world in his hands. Why me? I am a sect elder and you are an outer court disciple. Do you have any idea what will happen if we cultivate together? The sect will not allow it. If they don't know about it, then nothing will happen. That's not how it works. Anyways, I refuse. Do not overstep your boundaries, disciple Su Ying. I am only approaching you for treatment for my pain, it is not as though I have any feelings for you. Once the treatment is over, so is our relationship. Elder Lan said to him with a serious expression. At the end of the day, she was a sect elder and he was a mere outer court disciple, not to mention Elder Lan still being a pure maiden. She didn't put so much effort into keeping herself pure just so she could lose it to some outer court disciple she'd just met. Su Ying closed his eyes to hide the disappointment in his eyes and sighed. A pity. He mumbled. I apologize for coming here to bother you, Elder Lan. You are right, the gap between our status is too vast. We can act as though this conversation never happened. I came to you first because I thought my yang essence could have been of some use to your cultivation. Su Ying turned around and prepared to walk away. Wait. Elder Lan suddenly stopped him with a frown on her face. What do you mean by that? The pure yang flower will obviously enhance my yang qi by many folds, even more so for my yang essence. I was hoping to give it to you so you can reach the 4th level of the true spirit realm. Su Ying explained his true objective, and he continued, you are close to having a breakthrough, no? Elder Lan's eyes widened at his words, and she stared at him with a speechless expression. As for your appointment with me, I will have to delay it since I will be busy in closed cultivation for the next few days. Su Ying continued walking towards the door. Wait. Elder Lan stopped him again. Even if the pure yang flower enhances the quality of your yang essence by many folds, you are only at the elementary spirit realm. Such a small amount of yang essence would not benefit someone like me, who is at the true spirit realm, not even the slightest. Su Ying only silently smiled at her remarks. He couldn't tell her that he was cultivating one of the 7 heavenly sublime scripture, as it would raise too many unwanted questions and bring countless troubles. Before stepping out of the room, Su Ying said to Elder Lan, I will be borrowing your disciples for today, if you don't mind. Elder Lan's jaw dropped upon hearing his words. Don't tell me you plan on. What other choices do I have? Su Ying shrugged. Elder Lan bit her lips as she watched Su Ying leave her room, seemingly in deep thoughts. When Su Ying returned to the 1st floor, The girls there instantly glared at him with sharp gazes, looking like a pack of hungry wolves. Ahem! Su Ying loudly cleared his throat. It was as though he was looking for attention. Luckily, he already received it the moment he walked downstairs. Although this may be a bit sudden. I'd like to. Wait. Just as Su Ying was about to request for their company in his bed, Elder Lan's voice loudly resounded from upstairs. Su Ying, get back up here. We are not done talking. Su Ying remained standing there with his mouth open after hearing her voice. He smiled a moment later and said, let's save this for another time. The girls there looked at him with a puzzled expression. Just what did he want from them? Su Ying turned around and began making his way upstairs for the second time. Elder Lan stared at Su Ying, who was standing there with a nonchalant expression, with an awkward expression, her gaze filled with uncertainty and complications. If she had to swear on her life that she has no feelings for Su Ying, then she wouldn't dare to open her mouth so carelessly. However, Elder Lan did not have the leisure to expose her feelings, much less jump into his arms, as their status as sect elder and disciple would cause countless troubles. After a moment, Elder Lan let out a long sigh. Why couldn't you be a core disciple instead? That would make things less complicated. She mumbled what she truly felt inside her heart without being aware. Core disciple? Su Ying lifted an eyebrow at her mumble. Well, core disciples are also disciples, they are not treated as such. As a matter of fact, they have more authority than even sect elders within the sect. Sect elders are mostly those who used to be in or core disciples but had no chance of becoming a core disciple. It was a way for the sect to keep their resources without being wasteful by disowning them, as inner core disciples are still talented individuals regardless if they are to become core disciples or not. If I become a core disciple, will that erase your shame, which would be cultivating with me, a mere outer core disciple? Su Ying asked her in a serious tone. Elder Lan noticed the confidence in his eyes when he mentioned becoming a core disciple, and she coldly snorted, do you have any idea what it takes to become a core disciple? They are all prodigies chosen by heaven itself since birth, there is no way you can compete with them. What makes you so sure? Let's use Feng Zilan, one of the leading core disciples at the moment, as an example. At your age, while you are only at the elementary spirit realm, she was already at the level of sect elders at the true spirit realm. Tell me, Su Ying, how can you compete with that kind of monstrous talent? Su Ying chuckled at her example, and he said in a clear tone filled with confidence, it's only the true spirit realm, there is nothing special about it. I'll get there in 1 month after consuming the pure yang flower. Only the true spirit realm? Ignoring his arrogant statement of achieving true spirit realm in 1 month, Elder Lan frowned at how easily Su Ying took the true spirit realm since she herself was also only at the true spirit realm. What a joke. You have not even seen the struggle at the profound spirit realm, yet you are treating the true spirit realm as though it is nothing in your eyes. Just where do you get your arrogance and confidence from? It was only natural for Elder Lan to question his sanity, as she was unaware of Su Ying's experience in his previous life. In reply to Elder Lan's remarks, Su Ying smiled and said, instead of just standing here and talking nonsense that will take us nowhere, how about I show you after we cultivate? If I cannot reach the true spirit realm within a month after I consume the pure yang flower, I will cut off my treasure down there and feed it to the pigs. Elder Lan was speechless at Su Ying's arrogance and imperturbable self-confidence. However, she also found his demeanor somewhat attractive. In this world where the strong ruled the weak, those without confidence in their own abilities would never achieve anything great no matter how profound their talent may be. As for this profound blossom sect, where female disciples actively look for partners to cultivate with, Su Ying's profound presence, charisma, and ability to satisfy them would naturally attract them like a chicken in the middle of a pack of carnivores. Even Elder Lan was no different. As a female, no matter her status, Su Ying's charisma also captivated her. Elder Lan sighed sometime later, feeling frustrated and defeated along with many other complicated feelings. "Ai. Su Ying, you are really a difficult one, aren't you?" She shook her head, sounding tired. "I consider myself pretty easygoing at this moment," Su Ying said with a smile, and he continued, "So about my request." Elder Lan closed her eyes and sighed again once he mentioned the topic. When she opened her eyes, resolution flickered within. "My many years of effort will be wasted because of you, Su Ying. How are you going to be responsible for plucking my yin essence?" Su Ying slowly approached her with a gentle smile and said, "By making you happiest woman in this universe for as long as I am here." Elder Lan's face reddened at his words. She has never felt such an overwhelming desire to embrace someone before, let alone someone of the opposite gender. "I will consume the pure yang flower now. I'd appreciate it if you can protect me while—" "What are you saying at this point?" Elder Lan suddenly said. And she continued, "I will warn my disciples to not let anyone bother us for. We can start short. 2 days should be good enough." Elder Lan was speechless. Forget about her, a pure maiden with no experience in dual cultivation. Even experts wouldn't be able to handle dual cultivation for an entire day, yet he wants to cultivate for 2 days straight, even calling it short. "Ahem. I will be right back." Elder Lan awkwardly cleared her throat before quickly leaving the room. Su Ying sat down in the lotus position once Elder Lan left. He then took out the pure yang flower and stared at the red powder in his hands, preparing himself for whatever was in store for him after the powder enters his mouth. "Master." When the girls downstairs noticed Elder Lan's presence, they greeted her. "Where's Su Ying?" they suddenly asked, nearly causing Elder Lan to choke. Su Ying is actually in a very serious condition. He was poisoned after consuming something he shouldn't and is currently in a life-or-death situation. Never in Elder Lan's life would she have expected herself to make such an excuse in front of her own disciples just so she could secretly cultivate with an outer court disciple. Just thinking about it caused her body to tremble in shame. "What? How could that be? He looked perfectly fine when we spoke with him. Is there anything we can do to help him?" "Master, you must heal him. I don't want to live life regretting that I wasn't about to ahem." Although she had expected such reactions from her disciples, they still managed to make her speechless. "I will naturally heal him, but it will take some time. In the meantime, I need everyone to ensure that nobody will be bothering us for the next few days, not until I come down. I don't care who comes, turn them around. Su Ying's life is on the line here." Elder Lan spoke in a stern voice, her expression as serious as it could get. It was so realistic that nobody there doubted her words. They nodded with a serious expression. "Don't worry, Master. Even if the heavens fall, we will make sure that neither you or Su Ying will be bothered even the slightest," her disciples said in a clear voice, their bright eyes showing assurance. While Elder Lan felt bad about deceiving her own disciples, she wasn't willing to expose the fact that she was actually going to engage in dual cultivation with Su Ying, as it would surely become a scandal. "Very well. Then I will be going now." Elder Lan turned around and began walking upstairs, her heart beating with every step she took. The anxiety she was feeling at this moment overwhelmed her, causing her to sweat profusely. No matter how mature she may look or what her cultivation base was, she was just a little girl when it came to dual cultivation. It was like a naive little girl walking into a dark cave knowing what was on the other side and at the same time knowing nothing at all. When she reached the door to her room that was tightly enforced with soundproof formations, her heart began throbbing even harder and faster. After preparing himself, Su Ying directly threw the red powder into his mouth and closed his eyes. Mere seconds later, his body began changing colors. His white, jade-like skin turned orange and red, looking as though he was a sword began forged. smoke began emitting from his pores, and Su Ying growled in pain from the burning sensation that was torturing every inch of his body. It felt as though his body had turned into a cauldron and there was something being created inside him. His beautiful black hair was literally burning, soon disappearing into the air. Even his robes were completely burned until there was nothing left, leaving him completely naked. It was at this moment the door to the room opened and Elder Lan walked inside. When she first saw the scene and Su Ying's appearance, her heart nearly jumped out of her throat from fright. Su Yang? Elder Lan tried to approach him, but the powerful heat and aura that surrounded Su Yang kept her from approaching him. All of the anxiety and worry in Elder Lan's mind disappeared like smoke the moment she laid eyes on Su Yang, who was completely naked and without a single hair on his body and looked as though he was being cooked alive. Many hours have passed since Elder Lan entered the room, yet Su Yang remained the same, showing no signs of recovering anytime soon. And to Elder Lan, who has been keeping a close eye on him since the beginning, these few hours felt like an eternity. Suddenly, a powerful ripple filled with profound chi swept the room, causing Elder Lan, who felt the domineering and horrifying pressure within the ripple, to tremble in fear. The feeling she felt when the ripple touched her was not something a human could release, it felt more like an instinctive cry from a savage beast who craved for power. After the ripple disappeared, changes began appearing in Su Ying's body. His red skin slowly returned to the formal condition, perhaps even purer and more beautiful. His burned hair began restoring in an incredible speed that could easily be noticed even with one's bare eyes. And Elder Lan watched all of this happen in front of her with wide eyes, looking mesmerized. Su Yang slowly opened his eyes, and Elder Lan noticed a faint glow of a golden light that quickly vanished from his eyes almost instantly after it appeared. He slowly stood up, and a profound aura enveloped the room, causing the place to feel as though there was the presence of a divine entity inside the room. Su Yang turned to look at Elder Lan, who stood there with her jaw wide open and looking hypnotized by the spectacular scenery. He smiled at her, not even bothering to hide the magnificent view of the bulging rod that stood up right in between his legs, like a domineering dragon soaring towards the heaven. In Elder Lan's eyes, this was definitely the most stunning and elegant scene she has ever witnessed in her life. The Su Yang in Elder Lan's eyes right now looked nothing like a 16-year-old who had just turned into an adult, but someone who emitted an aura that was filled with an experienced feeling that surpassed even Elder Lan herself. Elder Lan stood there like a stone statue as Su Yang slowly approached her, his bulging rod standing upright. It was so stiff that not even walking was able to cause it to move, like a firm mountain. While she has seen it before, they were all paintings and objects. This was her first time seeing a real man's penis. She was instantly mesmerized by its flawless shape and vigorous aura. It looked more like a heavenly treasure than some vulgar stick, something entirely different than her imaginations. Even as Su Yang closed in on their distance, she was unable to look away from his thick and long rod, seemingly captivated by its presence. By the time Su Yang was standing next to her, Elder Lan was already breathing heavily, her heart beating like war drums. Su Yang's slender arms gently embraced her, and he closed his eyes as his mouth slowly reached for her soft lips. Elder Lan didn't resist his kiss and also closed her own eyes. The two's lips gently connected, and Elder Lan's body trembled upon contact. Mm. A slippery object suddenly invaded her mouth and began running wild, entangling her tongue like a snake ensnaring its prey. The sudden and unexpected action by Su Yang caught Elder Lan, who had zero experience in kissing, by surprise, causing her to open her eyes. However, when she saw how close Su Yang's handsome face was to her own, her face exploded in redness. As they continued kissing, Su Yang slowly led her to the bed. He then gently laid her on the bed with him being on the top, and he released his lips a moment later, creating a bridge made of saliva between their lips as they disconnected. Su Yang took this moment to take a good look at Elder Lan, whose face was beet red like a tomato. her eyes flickering with countless lights. Her hair was midnight black and it flowed on the bed like a waterfall. She had slender eyebrows, her eyelashes velvety. Her black eyes sparkled with embarrassment and bashfulness as they intensively gazed at him, yet there was a sense of desire flickering within. Her rosy pink lips had a herbal taste mixed with a sweetness that had caused his taste buds to tingle with delight. If Su Ying had to compare her beauty with the immortals in his previous life, then he was confident that she wouldn't lose any face if they were to stand together. Su Ying. Elder Lan mumbled his name in a sheepish tone. When we are alone, I want you to call me Lan Liking, she said to him in an alluring tone. Su Ying smiled and whispered in her ears, Lan Liking, I want you. When Lan Liking felt Su Ying's warm breath tickling her ears, she could feel a tingling sensation in between her legs. May I? Su Ying requested for permission before they reached the point of no return. After a moment of silence, Lan Liking slowly nodded, her face getting redder by the second. Su Ying smiled, and he began loosening her robes, his gentle and smooth movements revealing his vast knowledge and expertise in this field. Moments later, Lan Liking laid there with her robes stripped from her, revealing everything except her bottom lips and nipples that she had covered with her fair hands. Both Su Ying and Lan Liking were completely naked at this moment. It was a profound feeling for Lan Liking, who has been experiencing many firsts today. Su Ying took another moment to engrave this enchanting scenery into his soul, ensuring that he would never forget it. Her slim body was well sculpted, like a piece of art. Her skin was smooth and pale like white jade, and her slightly sweaty body made it seem as though stars covered her body. Not to mention her body was also without a single hair despite her ripe body. It was a peerless figure that would cause any man to go crazy. When Su Ying laid eyes on her pair of perfectly round breasts, his already stiff rod hardened even more, and his hands began reaching for it. Ah! Despite covering her breasts in embarrassment, Lan Liking did not resist when Su Ying began skillfully massaging her breast. Lan Liking softly moaned, the tingling sensation in her bottom lips growing even stronger. While he massaged her breasts, Su Ying's head approached the lower half of her body. When Lan Liking noticed that, she began to panic. Su Ying. Teeth that's. Lan Liking tightly covered her forbidden world. She was not mentally prepared to let Su Ying explore that world yet. There's nothing to be scared of. I promise. Su Ying gently kissed her slender legs, slowly approaching the hand that covered Lan Liking's other world with every kiss. When Su Ying reached the center of her legs, a sweet fragrance aroused his nose, causing his body temperature to heat up. A few moments passed, yet Su Ying did not say nor do anything, only silently waiting for Lan Liking to release the hand that blocked him from seeing her most precious part that made her a female. After another moment, Lan Liking finally surrendered. You will definitely take responsibility after this, Su Ying, she said as she slowly released her trembling hand, revealing to Su Ying her beautiful, pink world. Without any further delay, Su Ying pressed his lips directly against her pink flower and began exploring it with his tongue. Lan Liking released a powerful moan the moment she felt something soft and vicious enter her flower, and her body trembled violently, feeling as though there was electricity running through her body. Lan Liking's erotic moaning sounded like heavenly bells in Su Ying's ears. It was both peaceful and exciting. Liquid flowed from Lan Liking's tight cave like a river, and Su Ying savored every last drop without letting a single drop go to waste. More. Give me more. Lan Liking suddenly grabbed Su Ying by his head and pulled him towards her, his tongue reaching even deeper into her pink cave. It took a few minutes for Lan Liking to release her grip on his head, but when she finally did, Su Ying began licking her pink pearl. Su Ying suddenly attacking her most sensitive spot made Lan Liking instantly come on the spot. Crystal clear water sprayed onto Su Ying's face like a broken water fountain. Su Ying chuckled as he wiped his face. You sure are hydrated today. Lan Liking, feeling ashamed of herself, covered her face with both her hands after hearing his remarks, completely forgetting her role as a sect elder. Su Ying helped her by removing her hands away from her face, and he said to her in a soothing voice, I want to see your beautiful face as our bodies connect. Although she was embarrassed to no ends, she nodded regardless. Su Ying rubbed her pink with his thick meat stick while he kissed her again. Are you ready? It will hurt at first, but the pain will go away soon. On. Lan Liking sheepishly nodded. It was at this moment Su Ying slowly pushed the tip of his rod into her cave. NNN. Lan Liking bit her lips from the extreme pain, the corner of her eyes forming teardrops. She could very clearly feel her hymen slowly being torn apart by Su Ying's thick dragon, and blood was seeping through what little gap was left in her cave. Not wishing to cause her too much pain, Su Ying continued to pierce Lan Liking's tight vagina carefully. Her insides were tightly wrapped around his meat stick. It was a sensational experience for both of them, especially Lan Liking, who has never felt anything relatively close to losing her chastity. Although it took some time, Su Ying's entire heavenly rod was finally inside Lan Liking's hole, with the tip even hitting the end of her hole. It was a heavenly feeling for Su Ying despite having experienced this plenty of times in his previous life. It was something he would never get tired of. How does it feel, losing your chastity? Su Ying asked her in a teasing voice. Lan Liking struggled to lift her head to look at her stomach that was slightly bulging due to Su Ying's thick rod. Her stomach felt full, almost as though she was full from eating too much. She even looked a bit dazed by the fact that she actually allowed her yin essence to be plucked by an outer court disciple. I will begin moving now, okay? Su Ying warned her like a gentleman. Seeing her nod, Su Ying began moving his hips, thrusting his slowly at first, increasing the speed and intensity only after Lan Liking began showing signs of pleasure. After a few minutes, Lan Liking could no longer feel pain, only extremely pleasure. Her mind quickly became empty, and soon enough, the only thing she could think about was the burning sensation in her pussy and the profound pleasure that came with it. The only sound that could be heard inside the room at this moment was Lan Liking's captivating moaning and heavy breathing, the sound of meat getting pounded, and the sound of smacking water. Harder. I want it harder. Lan Liking pleaded for more as she tightly embraced Su Ying's neck. Su Ying heeded her request and tightly held onto her slim waist as he lifted her into the air and began thrusting faster and faster with no signs of exhaustion even after intensive thrusting for many minutes, his dragon head fiercely hitting the end of her hole repeatedly, like a hammer pounding a wall. It was a sight to behold in Su Ying's eyes. The way her beautiful breasts jiggled and her erotic face, not to mention the sound of her butt cheeks slapping against his legs. Something's coming, Lan Liking tiled her head backward and screamed loudly with her tongue sticking out of her mouth, her body spazzing out of control instantly afterward, and a large amount of liquid then gushed out from her bottom. However, Su Ying did not stop his movements and continued to thrust his steel-like rod into her, as he was also close to reaching his climax from the powerful sucking force of her vagina. This only further aroused Lan Liking's lust and increased her sensitivity, causing her to continuously release liquid without any signs of stopping anytime soon. I feel like I am going crazy. Lan Liking exclaimed. After another a few more minutes of thrusting, Su Ying finally released his virgin yin essence into Lan Liking's pussy, quickly filling her hole without leaving even the smallest space unoccupied. Su Ying gently kissed her on the lips afterward. However, despite already releasing his yin essence, he didn't pull his penis out of her hole, keeping the white substance tightly sealed within. Lan Liking took this moment to take deep breaths. She has never been this exhausted before, not even during the most strenuous training in her life. Su Ying. Just who are you? She asked him in a low voice. Just an outer court disciple who is lustful towards his sect elder," he answered with a teasing smile. Lan Liking sighed at his reply, turning quiet again. She then looked at her stomach that was still feeling the burning sensation strongly. It felt as though her stomach was on fire. Then she noticed that the bulging on her stomach was still there, and she quickly looked at Su Yang with disbelief in her beautiful eyes. "Su Yang. Your thing. It's still so hard?" She couldn't help but ask him about his thing. Su Yang chuckled and replied, "The pure Yang flower is a very powerful medicine. Releasing that little amount would not even be close to satisfying it." Lan Liking was totally at loss for words upon hearing his answer. He was not satisfied after that intensive play? Even though her body has yet to calm down? "Don't tell me that you are already at your limit after that little warm-up? And you call yourself my senior?" Su Yang looked at her with surprise and a hint of teasing. Warm-up? That was just a warm-up? Lan Liking didn't know whether to laugh or cry after hearing his words. However, as sensitive as her body may be at this moment, she could tell with certainty that her body was craving for more of Su Yang's techniques. Lan Liking stared at him with a narrowed gaze that flicked with lust. "Who do you think I am? You, who is not even half my age, dare to look down on me? Come at me, I am not even halfway done with you," she said to him, her voice happy sounding. Su Yang smiled and suddenly moved his hips without warning. So sudden." Lan Liking let out a moan that was filled with surprise. "Very well, then I shall play with you all day." Su Yang laughed out loud as he continued to enjoy the heavenly feeling of Lan Liking's divine hole. Lan Liking bit her bottom lip as Su Yang sucked on her twin peaks, his hips gracefully moving like a dancing crane. It has been many minutes since they started their dual cultivation, yet neither of them seemed to have any thoughts of stopping. "Lan Liking, are you even cultivating properly? You seem to be enjoying yourself and have forgotten about the whole point of this." Su Yang reminded her that they were still cultivating. "Eh? Ah. Of course, I am cultivating properly," she hastily replied in a stiff voice filled with emptiness. She had clearly forgotten to cultivate because of the pleasure. "Then make sure you absorb all of this Yang Qi," Su Yang said as he released another bulk of Yang Qi into her forbidden garden. Lan Liking could feel the insides of her flower engulfed by a surge of sudden heat, and her mind blanked out again. After releasing his Yang Qi into Lan Liking body, Su Yang gently laid her on the bed and unplugged his still stiff dragon from her pink hole, causing a large amount of holy fluid to gush out like a divine river. "Let's take a break to cultivate. Your yin essence was stronger than I had expected, so I will need to cultivate for a bit before we continue," Su Yang said to her as he sat down in the lotus position with his eyes closed. Lan Liking laid on the bed that was soaking wet from her yin qi in exhaustion, her refined figure still twitching from the euphoric feeling that covered every inch of her bottom half. After she rested, Lan Liking struggled to sit behind Su Yang with their bare backs touching each other. When she finally calmed down and was able to concentrate enough to cultivate properly, Lan Liking was shocked to the core when she sensed the abundant amount of powerful Yang Qi that was built up in her body, not to mention the extreme purity of the Yang Qi. It was as though there was an ocean of Yang Qi in her body that could be considered Yang essence because of its high quality. With this much high-quality Yang Qi, let alone the fourth level of the true spirit realm, even the fifth level of the true spirit realm is possible. Lan Liking turned her head to look at the back of Su Yang's head, her gaze filled with wonder. "Just who in the world are you, really?" she mumbled. Lan Liking then began to cultivate the Yang Qi in haste, afraid that the Yang Qi might lose quality if it remained untouched for too long. Meanwhile, Su Yang's cultivate base soared like a dragon piercing the heaven. Prior to obtaining Lan Liking's yin essence, when he consumed the pure yang flower, his cultivate base had skyrocketed from the 6th level of the elementary spirit realm directly to the 3rd level of the profound spirit realm. He had soared 5 levels in a matter of moments after fully consuming the pure yang flower, not to mention his physique that had directly entered the late stages of profound spirit body refiner. However, such an explosive rise was just the beginning of a small spark that would later become fireworks. When Su Ying first penetrated Lan Liking, stealing her yin essence, his cultivation base also experienced enormous changes. His cultivation base directly soared 3 more levels, reaching the 6th level of the profound spirit realm. As for his physique, it had barely changed, since yin essence only affects one's cultivation base and would not benefit body refiners. Currently inside Su Ying's body was like a volcano that had recently erupted. Everything about him changed, especially the quality of his yang qi. If compared, his yang qi would not be any less effective than cultivators at the earth spirit realm, perhaps even stronger. Many hours passed since Su Ying and Lan Liking cultivated each other's special qi. And because Lan Liking had the higher cultivation base with fewer resources than Su Ying, she was the first to open her eyes. She stood up, her body looking anew and filled with energy. He really wasn't lying. Not only did my cultivate base advance, but the results were better than he'd said. She wanted to embrace Su Ying at this moment, but knowing that he's deeply into cultivating, she held herself back. Lan Liking suddenly noticed the divine pole that stood tall in between his legs. He's cultivating like that? How can he concentrate when his thing is looking so fierce and painful, even looking so peaceful as he cultivates? Lan Liking was impressed by his ability to concentrate even under odd situations, and her lower body reacted when she saw how mighty and domineering his little brother looked as he cultivated. And since Su Ying has yet to awaken from his cultivation, Lan Liking had no other choice but to satisfy herself as she waited. She softly moaned as her beautiful fingers caressed her little pearl. Time passed slowly, and a few hours later, Su Ying opened his eyes. However, the first thing he saw was Lan Liking laying on the bed with her legs spread in front of him and fiercely playing with herself. Are you trying to rub your little treasure off, my dear Liking? When Lan Liking heard Su Ying's teasing voice that came out unexpectedly, her heart skipped a beat from surprise. Su Ying. She quickly sat up with her face burning red from embarrassment. I apologize for taking so long that you had to satisfy yourself. Su Ying stood up and approached her, his eternal wood still as vigorous as ever. As an apology, I will show you a few techniques, he said with a smile. Although speechless and still feeling embarrassed, Lan Liking also smiled at him, even spreading her arms wide to welcome him into her embrace. Su Ying. What is this position? Lan Liking exclaimed with surprise when Su Ying suddenly laid his back on the bed and made her sit on his crotch area. Su Ying smiled and said, something that will take you straight to heaven. After saying his words, Su Ying pierced her hole with his sword. So deep. Lan Liking felt her mind going crazy as her cave was explored with even more intensity. It felt like she was riding a horse. Afraid that she would lose balance, Su Ying held on to her hips as he repeatedly shoved his sword upwards, looking as though he was trying to pierce the heavens, his sword easily reaching the limit of her cave. Lan Liking felt that this position was more embarrassing than the previous, where she could feel Su Ying's sharp gaze all over her body, especially her forbidden garden that was endlessly making vulgar noises. It's a beautiful view from here, Liking. It's so mesmerizing that I cannot look away. Su Ying smiled, which only caused her to feel even more embarrassed. Su Ying suddenly used his legs to raise his hips, causing her to lose balance. When she fell onto his chest, Su Ying felt her twin peaks softly pressing against his chest like two meat buns. He then embraced her, his hips moving increasingly faster and stronger. So strong. I will really go crazy. At this rate. Lan Liking's eyes were sparkling like a night sky filled with flickering stars, her gaze at Su Ying filled with passion and desire. Su Ying kissed her and said, I will make you show me your everything by tonight, liking. It's coming again. Lan Liking began twitching, and her little flower released another stream of sparkling love juice. An entire day had passed since Su Ying and Lan Liking secluded themselves inside the second floor of the medicine hall, where many disciples and elders came and went for medicine or help. There had been plenty of elders who had requested for Lan Liking's presence during these hours, but they were all politely turned around by her disciples, who was given strict orders to not allow anyone to bother her while she treats Su Ying. I wonder how Su Ying is doing right now. Although I trust Master's medicine skills, I still cannot help but feel anxious. Su Ying, I will not forgive you if you die. Everybody there showed worry for Su Ying, everybody except one person. Junior apprentice Sister Zhou, what's with the frown? I have not heard a word from you since this morning. HMPH. All of you looking like young maidens in love is the reason I am frowning. Just what is so special about this Su Yang? I don't understand it. Zhou, the only sister amongst them who refused Su Ying's service, explained her frustration with the situation. The girls there look at her with bitter expressions. You don't understand because you left during that day. You will never understand our feelings, Junior Apprentice Sister Zhou. Our desire. Oh, Ziaer. It is still not too late. If you approach Su Ying with respect, then he might agree to let you into his room. Zhou was speechless. She had a feeling that her sisters were no longer the sisters she once knew, and that only further deepened her worries. This Su Ying. I will see why he's so special. If he manages to leave this place alive. She thought to herself, staring intensely at the second-floor staircase. Inside the room on the second floor, Lan Liking had her head resting on Su Ying's lap as he combed her beautiful hair with his hands. Su Ying, I want to try putting it in my mouth. Lan Liking suddenly said with a blushing face, her gaze staring lovingly at the standing dragon in between his legs and her fingers gently caressing it as though she was examining a peerless treasure. Su Ying chuckled. Do you even know what to do? He asked her. Lan Liking suddenly kissed the head of his dragon with passion and said, No, but I will learn. She began licking his rod as though she was licking ice cream. It's sweet. After licking it for a few minutes, she opened her mouth and slowly began putting it in her mouth. It's bigger and stronger than I thought. She thought to herself when she realized that it had barely fit into her mouth, and after taking a moment to familiarize herself with the feeling of having a man's thing in her mouth, she started moving her head up and down. Su Ying smiled gently as he watched Lan Liking suck his little brother. It felt like he was watching an innocent girl eating candy for the first time. And although her techniques were horrible with barely any sucking force, the soft feeling of her tongue and the warmth of her mouth were heavenly. He laid on the bed and said to her, Lay on top of me and stick your butt towards my face, I'll make you feel good, too. Lan Liking, who was immersed in savoring the taste of his yang qi, silently shifted her position. Su Ying stared at the beautiful pink that hung above his face, and his hands grabbed Lan Liking's soft butt cheeks. He then pulled her cave towards his mouth. Lan Liking had to stop her mouth movements the moment Su Ying's tongue invaded her cave. However, not willing to admit defeat, she started moving her head even more vigorously soon later. Time began to pass slowly, and the two continued to relish the taste of each other's treasure. Another 2 days passed in the blink of an eye, yet neither Su Ying nor Lan Liking came out of the room. This got the disciples downstairs worried. What if something went wrong with the treatment? Master said that it should take 2 days, yet it has already been 3 days since she locked herself in her room treating Su Ying. If there was only something we can do to help them. But alas. The disciples had continuously talked about Su Ying without stop for the last 3 days, nearly causing Zhou to go crazy. Su Ying this. Su Ying that. I am sick of hearing his name. Zhou stood up and stormed out of the building. Her apprentice sisters watched her leave with a bitter smile. They didn't know what to do or what to say to her. I guess we have been a bit too obsessed with Su Ying lately. But I can't help it. Just his presence here makes my heart throb twice as fast as normal. Ha! They all sighed simultaneously. It was at this moment footsteps coming from the staircase resounded, causing everybody to unconsciously turn to look at that direction. What's with all the sighing? Su Ying appeared from the staircase with a refreshing smile on his face. Su Ying. You are fine. The disciples felt great relief when they saw his face. Why wouldn't I be fine? Su Ying asked them with a slightly puzzled expression. His puzzled face made the disciples feel as though there was something wrong. Eh? But you have been in a life-or-death condition for the past few days. Right? They asked him with suspicious gazes. Su Ying instantly realized what they were talking about once they mentioned his condition, and he laughed out loud. Oh, that. Elder Lan did an excellent job treating me. It was so good that the entire treatment was more pleasurable than painful. Is that so? Although they didn't know what it was about Su Ying that has changed, they were able to sense that something about him was drastically different, almost as though he was a different being entirely. I must have caused you all some trouble by being here. I will definitely return this debt one day. No way. There's no need for you to be so humble, Su Ying. We already see you as someone a part of our medicine hall, in other words, our family. Su Ying smiled and said, then how about this? When you come to me for your next treatment, it'll be free of cost. I will even allow you to request for any type of treatment you want. When the girls heard his suggestion, their eyes widened with happiness. Really? Then I won't be humble the next time I see you. Then, until next time. He nodded. And before he walked out the door, he said to them, right, Elder Lan overexerted herself from treating me and had asked me to tell you all to not bother her for a few more days. After leaving the medicine hall with a refreshing feeling, Su Ying went directly to the mission hall. My cultivation has gone up an entire realm after only 3 days of cultivating. It will surely attract unwanted attention and bring countless trouble if the sect learns of it. I should accept a few missions just so I can have a few excuses when they question me. Su Ying knew that he wouldn't be able to hide his real cultivation base and heaven-defying growth from the sect forever and that it will be revealed sooner or later. In order to make sure that they wouldn't ask too many questions when the time comes, he has decided to make a few preparations. The mission hall was a building where disciples and elders alike go to request for missions given to the sect by the outside world. These missions are very important to the sect as they improve the sect's reputation within the cultivation world and gain more trust from those who gave them the missions in the first place. Inside the mission hall, there were many outer court disciples walking around while looking at the hundreds of scrolls that were pinned onto the wall. The missions were all organized into different sections depending on the contents on the mission. For example, missions that required hunting would be in the hunting section and missions that required disciples to do trivial matters such as cleaning would be in the miscellaneous section. Su Ying casually walked up to a random mission at the hunting section and tore it off the wall without even looking at it. He then walked to the front desk to get his mission recorded by a sect elder. Hunting lightning cats by the Thunder Valley? When the elder in charge of recording missions saw the mission Su Ying accepted, he looked at him with a surprised expression. You want to accept this? Lightning cats are usually around the 8th level and the 9th level of the elementary spirit realm, and their lightning quick speed makes it hard for even inner court's disciples to deal with. Not to mention the dangerous environment at the Lightning Valley. Are you sure you want to accept this? What is your cultivation base at? Profound Spirit Realm 1st level, said Su Ying, who was lying with a nonchalant face. You are in the Profound Spirit Realm? But you are still an outer court disciple? The elder looked at him with even more surprise. I plan on taking the exam for the inner court once I solidify my foundation from this mission. I have only recently had a breakthrough, so my cultivation base is currently still unstable. Su Ying's clear voice and smooth talking did not arouse any suspicion within the elder, almost as though he was used to talking fart. The elder silently looked at him for another moment before nodding. Very well. I wish you the best of luck. Do not push yourself if you are in danger. We cannot afford to lose a future inner court disciple such as yourself. Your name? The elder then asked him. Su Yang. Su Yang? The elder had a feeling that he has heard of the name before, but he wasn't able to remember where or when he had heard it from. There, you are good to go, he said after writing Su Yang in the logbook. Thank you. Su Yang bowed to him before casually walking out of the mission hall. After Su Yang left the mission hall, he went back home to clean off the sweat he received during his cultivation with Lan Liking and changed out the robes he received from the medicine hall. Afterward, he went to the White Pearl Treasury to prepare himself for the trip to the Thunder Valley, which was at a few hundred miles away from the Profound Blossom sect. It's you again? The old man there was surprised to see Su Yang appear there. He thought that Su Yang would have consumed the pure yang flower by now, yet he seems perfectly fine. No, he looked a bit different, as though there was something profound about him. What happened to the pure yang flower? Did you change your mind at the last minute? I don't accept returns here in the White Pearl Treasury, you know, said the old man just in case Su Yang wanted to ask for a refund. I am here for a sword and some gold, said Su Yang calmly, purposefully ignoring the old man's questions. Sword and gold? Why do you need something like that? I accepted a mission that requires me to hunt some beasts. The travel will be long, and I need at least a weapon to defend myself when the time comes. Su Ying's plan had the old man confused. Why would he obtain a pure yang flower and then go out hunting a few days later? Nothing made sense in the old man's head. What are you hunting? The old man inquired with a casual expression. Senior, with all due respect, I am in a hurry. I don't recall the White Pearl Treasury ever being this caring about a mere outer court disciple such as myself. Su Yang said, his voice still as nonchalant as ever. You. The old man was obviously angry at Su Ying's rude remarks, but he didn't say anything and only frowned. After a moment, he said in a reserved tone, you are right. I have been unreasonable. There is no need for me to involve myself with your business. What kind of sword do you want? Normal ones will cost around 5 premium points. What about gold? It will be 10 premium points for 1 gold. Just a normal steel sword will do. As for gold, I want 10 gold. Su Yang handed him what little premium points he had remaining after buying the pure yang flower, and he is now broke again. I will be right back, said the old man after he confirmed that it was the right amount. A few moments later, the old man returned with a sword in a black leather scabbard and a small brown bag. Su Yang accepted the items and left soon afterward. After Su Yang disappeared for a few minutes, the old man called for a replacement and disappeared to the mission hall. Elder Zhou. When the elders in the mission hall noticed the old man's presence, they all stood and bowed with respect. Did an outer court disciple named Su Yang come here today for a mission? Elder Zhou asked then with a serious expression. Su Yang? He accepted a hunting mission for the Thunder Valley just a few minutes ago, said the one who recorded Su Yang into the logbooks. Hunting at the Thunder Valley? The place where lightning cats have been running rampage lately? Why would someone at the 3rd level of elementary spirit realm accept that kind of impossible mission? Elder Zhou pondered. Let me see that logbook, he said to the elder in charge. Here you go, Elder Zhou. Let me see, 1st level profound spirit realm? Elder Zhou couldn't help but exclaim loudly after seeing the logbook, sounding as though he just saw a ghost, his loud voice startling everybody inside the mission hall. Is something there wrong with the logbook, Elder Zhou? Asked the elder with a worried face. However, Elder Zhou only continued to stare at the logbook as though he was in a daze. How could he possibly be at the first profound spirit realm when he was just at the third level elementary spirit realm 2 weeks ago? Elder Zhou suddenly realized why he sensed a weird feeling coming from Su Ying when he saw him. Although it was barely recognizable, it was a profound aura only someone at the profound spirit realm could emit, something that didn't exist in him before he had gotten the pure Yang flower. That brat actually managed to successfully consume the pure Yang flower, something even I wouldn't dare try. His cultivation base even soared because of it. When Elder Zhou found out the truth, he was shocked to the core. How could a mere outer court disciple at the elementary spirit realm consume a pure Yang flower when even he, an earth spirit realm expert, would have difficulties consuming it? I have been played. That bastard Su Ying is such a crafty little brat. Who was it that said he was an incompetent fool? That guy's a monster. I have to report this to the sect masters as soon as possible. Elder Zhou stared at the elder in the charge of the logbook and said, "Unless I tell you, do not show the logbook to anyone else. This is a direct order." "Yes, Elder Zhou." After that, Elder Zhou left the mission hall in a hurry, leaving everybody there puzzled. To get the great Elder Zhou so riled up. Just who is this Su Yang? The sect elders there silently wondered to themselves. I wonder if that old man managed to figure it out by now. Su Yang wondered to himself as he approached the front gate that will lead him to the outside world. When he was in the White Pearl Treasury, he was aware that Elder Zhou had been probing him the entire time, almost as though he was investigating him. It's just a pure Yang flower, yet they are treating it as though it is some kind of divine medicine. What a pain in the ass. Su Yang sighed to himself. Halt. Where do you think you are going, outer court disciple? The guards standing by the entrance gate stopped Su Yang when they noticed him approaching. I have business at the Thunder Valley. Su Yang showed them the mission he received from the mission hall. The guards examined the stamp on the mission paper and confirmed the authenticity of the stamp. Very well. Be safe out there. They opened the gate, and Su Yang casually walked out, soon disappearing from the sights of the guards. After leaving the sect, Su Yang began making his way to the nearest city. In his memories, there was a place called the Swift Feather City. It was only 2 days away from the Profound Blossom sect in walking distance, but since Su Yang used his cultivation base, it had taken him only a few hours to arrive at the Swift Feather City. Once he arrived at the city, Su Yang approached the guards that stood by the entrance of the city. When the guards noticed Su Yang approaching them, they gave each other a weird gaze, almost as though they were surprised to see him there. Su Yang noticed the weird gazes he was getting from the guards, and he asked them, "Is there a problem?" No. It's just that very rarely do we see disciples from Profound Blossom sect despite our close distance. The guard explained to him. What brings you here to the Swift Feather City today? Asked another guard. Just making a quick stop before I continue on my journey. Is that so? Well, since you're a disciple of the famed Profound Blossom sect, we will not charge you any fees for the entrance. Normally, you'd have to pay 10 copper coins, alright? Su Yang gave his thanks before quickly making his into the city. When Su Yang left, the guard sighed, sounding depressed. The Profound Blossom sect. How envious. With his superior looks, he probably gets to play with beauties all day. If only I was a disciple. Forget about it. With your ugly looks, you probably wouldn't get accepted even as a pet for the servants, let alone as a servant. What did you say? You speak as though you have a chance to get in with your dog face. Look in the mirror before you talk. The guards then began arguing with each other. Su Yang casually strolled around the city. The place was clean and lively with many people entering and leaving the stores that made up the streets. Everybody there seemed to be minding their own business, but when their eyes suddenly discovered Su Yang's presence, they all stared at him with dazed expressions. It was as though the moment they saw Su Ying's handsome face, they couldn't look away. Undoubtedly, Su Ying's appearance was very eye-catching, like a sparkling gem surrounded by dirty rocks. Even within the profound Blossom sect where everybody was beautiful and handsome, his appearance was considered a rarity. And naturally, such a handsome young man with an extraordinary background would easily attract the people's attention no matter where he went, especially in a place filled with mortals that are not used to someone like Su Ying, who has such an overwhelming presence. Su Ying was used to these types of stares since it was also the same in his previous life. No matter where he went, there would be such gazes directed at him. Suddenly, a young beauty who looked to be 18 years old walked up to him with 2 rosy circles on her cheeks. Are you a disciple of the Profound Blossom sect?" she asked him in a timid voice. Su Ying smiled and nodded. "Is there something you need from me?" he asked despite already knowing her motives. Seeing his handsome smile, the red on her cheeks deepened. "Do you have any spare time right now? There is something I wish to speak to you about. Preferably in private," she said in a timid voice, her gaze flickering with passion. When the bystanders heard her request, their jaws nearly dropped to the floor from bewilderment, thinking how sly and shameless this young lady was being in public. Although she wasn't specific in her request, even an idiot could tell what her real motive was. If it was anyone else, they would, without a single doubt in their right mind, fall for her tactics and follow this young lady. But alas, Su Ying was someone with experience as vast as the galaxy in this type of situation. Even in his previous life, it was extremely normal for mortals like this young lady to approach cultivators with their body as an offering in exchange for their help, as it was an easy way to gain valuables and connections. Hell, the more fortunate ones may even become cultivators themselves. "I'm sorry, but I am in a hurry to be somewhere. If you don't mind, why don't you tell me what you have to say here?" said Su Ying, who showed barely any changes in his emotions. The young lady looked at him with an astonished expression on her face. He was someone who belonged to a sect that does vulgar acts every day as though it was normal, yet he refused her so easily. Why didn't he just nod and follow her with a smile on his face just like she'd imagined? "Nothing? Then I will excuse myself." The young lady stood there like a stone statue as Su Ying gracefully walked away while leaving a trail of flowery fragrance behind in the streets. When Su Ying completely disappeared from the scene, the bystanders sighed loudly. "Just a glance at him and you can tell that he's someone with high standards. He's from a place where peerless beauties are as common as flies. How could you possibly compete with the disciples at the Profound Blossom sect, young one?" When the young lady heard the people's words that were clearly meant to disdain her, her face turned red in embarrassment. No longer wishing to be there, she turned and ran away. After walking for some time, Su Ying decided to take a break. He randomly chose a restaurant and walked in, his presence instantly attracting the gazes of everybody inside the building before even stepping inside. "Why, young master, I am the owner of this store. How many will be visiting today?" Su Ying was greeted by the store owner instead of the usual servants. "I am alone," he replied as he stepped inside the place. "I apologize in advance if the place is too crude for someone like the young master. Spare me the sweet talk and just give me a table, any table will do." Su Ying interrupted him with a casual glance, causing the store owner to quickly shut his mouth, his palms turning sweaty from nervousness. "Young master can sit wherever he wants," said the store owner a moment later. Su Ying nodded and picked an empty table by the corner. He sat down and looked through the menu that was covered in dried-up sauces and dirty fingerprints. It was almost as though the store couldn't bother to change it out. When the store owner noticed Su Ying looking very intensively at the dirty menu, his heart nearly jumped out of his throat from fright. "Why, young master? I apologize about the dirty menu. Our business is, well, rough," said the store owner, feeling overwhelmed. However, Su Ying remained silent. The dirty menu and the rough-looking place did not bother him one bit. Instead, it actually made him feel comfortable. "I want one pot of your homemade tea and a plate of everything you have on the menu." The store owner looked at Su Ying with wide eyes filled with astonishment when he heard his order, almost as though he couldn't believe his ears. He actually wanted everything on the menu? There were at least 20 different dishes. Right away." The store owner didn't dare linger around and ran to the kitchen to begin commanding the cooks like a general. Very rarely would his restaurant receive cultivators as customers, let alone a disciple from the respectable Profound Blossom sect. He couldn't afford to disappoint someone with such a profound presence no matter what, as he was afraid of the consequences. Meanwhile, Su Ying took his time to organize his mind. "How long has it been since I last sat in one of these out-of-shape wooden chairs? When was the last time I stepped foot inside such a run-down restaurant?" Su Ying recalled the memories when he was still a mere mortal in his previous life, more precisely, his youth. When he was still a mortal, he would oftentimes come to these kinds of restaurants with his family. However, ever since he left his family to become a cultivator, the number of times he would visit these sort of places decreased drastically, even stopping permanently once he became an immortal. As Su Ying silently sat there and reminisced his past life, the people in the restaurant whispered to each other while constantly taking peeks at him. "What a handsome young man. If I could, I would, without a doubt, ravage him on my bed. Are all the men in the Profound Blossom sect this handsome? If only I was a disciple there." The ladies there giggled as they whispered their fantasies to each other whilst the men grumbled in jealousy. Fuck. Just because he was born a little bit more handsome than the rest. Why are the heavens so cruel? Isn't it already enough that I am not born handsome? Why did you have to allow me to see someone like him? Are you trying to shatter my confidence as a man? Su Ying smiled slightly after listening to the people around him talk. Although they were all whispering, it was so clear in Su Ying's ears that it sounded as though they were speaking directly into his ears. Soon, the store owner returned with many servants following behind, each carrying dishes with them. And because the table was too small to fit all the dishes, the store owner combined a few empty tables together to make it one large table. "How much for all of this?" Su Ying asked the store owner. "Young master does not have to worry about the price and can." Su Ying sighed midway through his sentence and retrieved a gold coin from his robes and handed it to the dumbfounded store owner. "Keep the change, but do me a favor and replace these dirty menus for new ones as soon as possible. Also, I'd like to treat all of the ladies here to a meal. Give them whatever they want, it'll be on me." Su Ying's words bewildered not only the store owner but everybody else in the restaurant. How rich was he to give out a gold coin so easily? Even if Su Ying were to order everything on the menu 5 more times, he still wouldn't need half a gold coin. Hell, even the restaurant itself only earns a few gold coins each year. When the females in the room heard that Su Ying was treating them to anything they want, they had an urge to jump out of their seats to give him a big kiss. Su Ying then said out loud, "While we are at it, why don't you all sit with me so we can have a little chat? There is plenty of room and I am trying to learn more about this place since this is my first time out of the sect." The instant Su Ying requested for their presence at his table, nearly every female in that place stood up and scrambled for the best seats, which were the 2 seats that were directly beside Su Ying. "Calm down, I won't be going anywhere anytime soon." Su Ying smiled at their actions, causing them to blush in embarrassment. Thus, the somewhat dead restaurant suddenly turned into a lively place. 6 women sat around Su Ying with bright expressions. All of them were as old as Lan Liking if not older, but because none of them were cultivators, they actually looked their age, unlike Lan Liking who still looked to be a young lady despite her old age. "Little brother, how old are you?" one of them asked Su Ying in a charming tone. "I am 16, he replied in a casual manner. "So young? I would have never guessed just by the way you handle yourself. You have such a mature demeanor that I thought you'd be much older. Are you disappointed? Su Ying asked with a smile. Hee hee. Of course not. Even if you are only 16 years old, you are still considered an adult. What is your name? Zhou Yang, said Su Ying, thinking to himself that it would be for the best if he didn't reveal his true identity outside the sect until he was certain about a few things. Where are you from, Zhou Yang? I was born inside the Profound Blossom sect. Whoa. You were given birth to inside a sect? Su Ying slightly smiled at her astonishment. Enough about me, I'd like to know more about the outside world, as this is my first time outside. What would you like to know? Tell me about this eastern continent, said Su Ying. Well, it's a very large continent for one. I heard that it's impossible to travel from one end to another if you are not a cultivator. The eastern continent is divided into 4 separate regions, each ruled by one great family. Su Ying looked at the woman who mentioned the great families with interest. Tell me more about the 4 regions and its great families, he said as he sipped on tea. The 4 great families are giants in both the cultivation and the mortal world. Each of them controls an equal amount of land, and they are known to produce geniuses with abnormal talents for cultivation. Other than their fame and military prowess, there is not much else known about them, especially not in a place like this. Do you know the names of these 4 great families? If I recall correctly, the Fang family rules the western region, the Long family in the eastern, the Xiong family in the southern region, and lastly, what was it again? The Su family, said another woman, they dominate the northern region. By the way, we are currently within the western region, governed by the Fang family. The Su family? Su Ying lifted an eyebrow once he heard the surname of that family. What a coincidence that they have the same surname as him. Yes. And although all 4 great families supposedly have the same amount of military power, rumors have it that the Su family may actually be the strongest among the 4. Is that so? Su Ying mumbled with a pondering expression. Although he lied about being born in the sect, he actually didn't have a single clue as to where he was originally from. All of the memories he had received from the previous Su Ying were for the 1 year after he joined the sect, the rest were seemingly blocked by a wall, almost as though it was forcefully suppressed. What's wrong, little brother? You seem interested in this Su family more than the rest. I have heard a few disciples mention their name before, said Su Ying. Do you know where they are located? He continued. All 4 great families are stationed in the capital of each region. Don't tell me little brother is planning on visiting them, someone said in a joking tone. Perhaps. Su Ying put down his tea and said with a smile, dumbfounding the people around the table. Right, what about the other continents? He suddenly asked them. When Su Ying mentioned the other continents, they looked at each other with a perplexed expression. Well, other than the fact that every continent is separated by a vast sea called the Jade Sea, we really don't know anything about them. The Jade Sea? Su Ying instantly frowned. He has traveled the 4 worlds in his previous life, yet he was unfamiliar with this name. Perhaps he was no longer under the same heaven as his previous life. When the people around the table saw the pained expression on Su Ying's face, they knew that something was wrong. They felt like comforting him, but they didn't know why he suddenly turned sorrowful after hearing about the Jade Sea. The thought of not being able to see his beloved again greatly pained Su Ying, however, he wasn't willing to give up so easily, not until he has definite proof that they no longer exist in this world. When Su Ying noticed the awkward silence, he put on a smile and said, I was lost in my thoughts, I apologize. There is no need for you to apologize, we understand. Whatever caused you to show such sorrow, I hope it goes away. They said to him in gentle voices, sounding like mothers comforting their child after they experienced something painful. Su Ying nodded, and they continued to eat while laughing and joking, almost as though the awkward moment had never happened. A few hours quickly passed since Su Ying shared his table and food with the ladies, and he finally said his goodbyes after cleaning all the food off the table. It has been forever since I've had such fun sharing tables with strangers. Su Ying left the restaurant with a refreshing feeling in his heart.